less than 1% of what the world spends on weapons every year. That's what it would take to put every boy and girl in the world into school. But yet there's still 80 million children around the world that don't have an education and never will. Now, I'm sure you've heard statistics like this before, and you think, well, what can I do about it? I'm just one person, and obviously I can't put 80 million kids into school, so I can't do anything. And today's culture is so self-centered, and it's all about yourself and just caring about yourself. And it's not a bad thing to care about yourself, because if no one cared, then the world would just be a mess. But if you're just concerned about yourself, and you're only concerned about what's going on with you, then it's almost like a dead end. It's just helping just one person, and you're not helping anyone else. And so a lot of people can get kind of caught up in that mindset. And so if you just think that and you honestly don't care about helping other people and just only what's going on with you, then you can kind of stay in your nice little bubble and then you don't go anywhere else. Or you could say, you know what, I'm a good person and I want to help and make a difference, but gosh, it's kind of intimidating, 80 million kids that aren't in school, and how am I going to do something? And then it just gets so overwhelming, and then it goes nowhere, and then you stay in your bubble too. And it's a very common mindset to think like that. And I know what that's like, because I think like that too sometimes, and I've been there before. And 2 years ago in 5th grade, I was just a regular 5th grade girl, and I had heard of poverty issues and problems people were facing, but it didn't really register to me that I could actually do something about it until one day I got this lesson. And the lesson that kind of changed my life was about writing business letters, of all things. And as our follow-up work, our teacher said that we could write to a celebrity or a company explaining what we were doing as practice, and so we could practice that way. And then at that point, our school had been really involved with an organization called Mels Diner. And their basic mission is they go and they set up in parking lots, they set up a big buffet line, and the homeless people in Hungary can come and get a meal for free without worrying where that next meal would have to come from. And we had heard that he was in great need of a serving truck, the man who ran it. And so my friend Isabella Bowman and I decided, well, what we could do for our follow-up is we could write letters and asking for donations to companies, and maybe we could get donations for the truck. And so we did, and we didn't really think much would come of it. We just thought, you know, it's a cool idea, we can try it. And so a lot of hard work later, and a lot of negative responses later, we finally got a check, an anonymous check for $3,000. And that experience has really helped me grow as a person and realize that even though I'm still really young and I'm just one person, I can make a difference and I can try to change the world. And it might not be easy at all at times, but it is very possible. And there's a children's story called One Smile. And it's about this young girl who's at the park, and she sees a man on a bench, and so she just kind of innocently, absent-mindedly smiles at him. And she doesn't know this, but he'd been out of work for a really long time and had kind of lost all of his hope. But when he saw that her kindness, and he thought, maybe it's not over for me. Maybe there still is hope for me. And so he says, you know what, I'm going to go and try to find a job. So then he goes out and starts looking for a job. And on the way, he sees a lady whose car broke down. So he helps her, and then she gets off fine. But then she's inspired by him and says, you know what, well, maybe I could go do something good for someone else. So then she goes and does a good deed, and then it continues on in a chain until it comes back to the girl who smiled. And as I was saying earlier, Mels Diner is an organization that Omni is very involved with. And you could say, with all their effort to make these things happen, is it really worth it, and will just one meal even make a dent in the 22,000 children that die every year due to poverty? Well, luckily they don't think like that. And so just the other day, I was helping them serve their food, and after a man got his food, he came up to us and started talking. And we learned that just 2 days before, he had arrived in the US with his family, and they had to escape from Burma. And in the middle of the night, they had to run. There was men with machine guns on the street threatening to shoot anybody who tried to get out. And they had to leave everything behind, no personal possessions, no photographs, and they just had to trust that they could make a new life here. And this is where the cycle of good deeds come in. And you might be thinking, you know, it's just a little cliche, and in reality, does it actually come back to help you? Well, later we learned that back in Burma, he would do the same thing that Mels Diner does, and he'd set up in parking lots and feed the homeless and hungry. And then his good deeds came, and when he needed it most and he was in need, then it came and helped him. I just think that's really cool. And you may think it's impossible for just you to make a difference. I think that too sometimes. I'm just a teenager, and I'm just one person. But doing this TEDx talk is a step, and no matter how small you think your actions are and how they might not make a difference, they really are something, and they could make a difference. I think that's definitely the moral of the story and the lesson we should learn from the man in Burma, that even something just as small as a smile actually could change the world. Thank you.